Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Bhadram Karnebihi Shriyama Devaha Bhadram Pashemukshaviryajatraha Sthirairangaihi Sushtuvagam Sustanubhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Svasti na Indro Vruddhashravah Svasti na Pusha Vishvavedaha Svasti nastaksho Arishthanemihi Svasti no Brihaspati Dadatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. In the last class, we have completed the chapter 3 or question 3. And what I mentioned during that particular time is the first 3 chapters roughly indicate the Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha and Manomaya Kosha. These 3 koshas have been told by Rishi Pippalada as to how to overcome them. So that is how we have seen until these 3 levels of Annamaya, Manomaya, Pranamaya and Manomaya, what we said is that something called Karya Karana Viveka will help. What is the cause and what is the effect? How do you see the effect? Whether we can see the effect in the cause itself, or whether the same cause can manifest all of them, and what is the nature of that particular effect. In the sense, what we have seen is nature of the effect. When I say, they said that prana, which we thought is the reality in Annamaya and Pranamaya, because it looks very much real. What Rishi told in the 3rd chapter or 3rd question is that prana is nothing like but a shadow of the man. So what we said was that actually indicates the Vivartavada, which is the different vadas are there for the creation. Vada means a particular way of teaching is the vada. So that particular teaching, sometimes it is called, for example, some of them is when the effect comes, the cause disappears. Example, normally what people give is when the curd is set out of the milk is gone and curd comes in. So the effect when comes, the cause is disappearing. So similar to, let us say, a lump of gold is there and you converted them to ornaments, the lump of gold is gone, ornaments got created out of that particular lump of gold. So the gold disappears and ornaments appear, manifestation. Actually, same gold appears as the different ornaments. That is how we see normal way of creation happens in this world, like that. Clay disappears. In the place of clay, the pots appear, so to say. But what when a shadow appears out of the man, it appears as if the creation is there. Definitely one can experience the shadow, no doubt about that. But that experience, what we say is that shadow has doesn't enjoy the same reality as that of the man. They are of 2 different natures, and the shadow's existence is a dependent existence. It depends on the man for its existence. If man is not there, shadow can never form. So when prana is said to be shadow of the Atman, Atman becomes the reality and shadow only becomes a relative reality whose existence depends on the Atman. This is what we call it as Vivartavad. Whenever we talk about a dependent existence, what it normally means is that existence and experience you cannot say it is not there. However, that existence doesn't have the same order of reality as that of the original. So Atman's order of reality and a shadow's, prana's order of reality, they are of two different orders of reality. What does it mean? For example, again, if you see, a man in the waking state has got a particular order of reality. Same man, when he dreams, the dream, although the same man might appear in his dream, but the order of reality is completely different. How do we know? Because in the dream, if I win $1 million lottery, it makes no difference as far as the waking state is concerned. They are of two completely different orders of reality. But as far as the experience is concerned, both of them, when the experience is happening, appear to be of same order of reality. When the dream is going on, you think that it is real. Only once you wake up to the waking state, you realize that the dream is nothing but an illusion. What Shastras are telling is even the waking state is exactly like that. It is exactly like a dream. And when you wake up to the realized state of Turiyam, you will see that the waking state and all these relations, all these aspects that we are feeling is nothing but a dream-like existence, although we appear to give more importance to our waking state or more reality to the waking state compared to the dream state. Both of them you are experiencing, but they are of two different orders of reality. This is what we have seen up to chapter 3. What we said is, because it is Karya Karana Vichara, we are seeing an effect and the cause analysis of the three aspects of our living. We are able to understand till then. But the moment you cross this Manomaya Kosha and come to Vijnanamaya Kosha, the intellect that we are talking about, no longer the Karya Karana Vichara will work. You essentially have to move to something what Shankaracharya calls it as Drishya Vivek, a seer-seen analysis. No longer cause-effect analysis will help. We need to move to a Drishya Viveka. You have to bring in the observer. Unless an observer comes into picture, a Sakshi comes into picture, the journey beyond the Manomaya Kosha is difficult. That is what we have seen till last class. I think we have read also the verse number 1 of question 4. Yeah. Ata hainam sauryayani gargya prapachya. So in this particular verse, Sauryayani Gargya, he is the one who has come into picture. This Sauryayani, Surya Ayana, like Ramayana, here we call it as Sauryayani. Sauryayani is son of the sun. That is how we can actually talk about, or the person who is on the path of the sun. If you see in the first chapter, first question, we have seen that there are two paths. One is Chandrayana and other is Suryayana. Dakshinayana, Uttarayana. So one who is on the Uttarayana path is on the path of the sun. One who is on the Dakshinayana path is on the path of the Chandraloka. And one who goes to Chandraloka will come back and take birth here again. One who is on the Surya path, he will go to Suryaloka, and there is no coming back as far as that particular soul is concerned. That is how the that is how the text has told at that time. So here, Suryayani, when we talk about Sauryayani, it indicates a person who has already overcome the Karma Yoga and he is on the path of Upasana. So indicatively, this name indicates that at a particular person. And Gargya, we have seen again, Garga Gotra. There are many rishis of this Garga Gotra who have given very important chapters of many Vedas. As far as the even rituals are concerned, they are very, very important verses have been given by this Garga Gotra. Even one lady is there who is called Gargi Rishi, who is very, very important Rishi as far as some of the important verses of the Vedas they have given. So this Sauryayani Gargya Prapacha. What did it ask? What did that Sauryayani ask? He asked actually 5 different questions. In this one, when his turn came, he said, Bhagavan, etasmin purushe kani swapanti. Means, Bhagavan, which are the organs that sleep in the man? when during the dream state, when we talk about, when we are looking at, Kanyasmin Jagrati, which are the ones which are actually awake, which again are awake in him. So he recognized that during the sleep, once you go to sleep, some of the aspects, some of the organs are sleeping, some of the aspects and some of the organs are awake. So these two questions related to the sleep, and the third one also, in fact, which is the Devata who sees the dream. He says that there must be, it appears as if there is a Devata, a consciousness principle. Devata is nothing but a illuminating principle or consciousness principle that is there inside you, who appears to be observing the swapna. Because swapna, prapancha, appears to be enjoyed by somebody other than me as it is happening. Because if it is happening to me, who is the me in the waking state, then there are some aspects which I can't describe, which I cannot justify. Because as a waking person, I never go into a forest. But I go into a forest and I see a tiger coming after me in my dream. Or I jump out of the mountain and it appears as if I'm flying around and beautifully enjoying everything and landing without getting injured. This doesn't happen in my waking state. So it appears as if the observer of the sleep or dream appears to be a different person. So he's asking that question as to which Devata sees the dream. Means, as I mentioned, here we are looking at a Drik Drishya. And whose is the happiness? Means, Kasyaite Sukham Bhavati. Sukham means, Kasyaite Sukham Bhavati, that Sukham belongs to the Sushupti Avastha. In your deep sleep, it is called Anandamaya Kosha. And this Anandamaya Kosha, also there seems to be a different person who is experiencing, other than the dreamer, other than the waker. Because what is the waker's definition? Waker's definition is with the body, mind, and intellect, which I use as instruments during my waking state. But in my deep sleep state, the body goes into a laya. My body is not active. My mind is not active. Even my intellect is not active. Even my ego is not active. Everything goes into a suspension. But at the same time, somebody seems to be enjoying the deep sleep. Only once I wake up, I come to know that I am the one who is also having this experience. How? Because the memory is still there. Memory of my dream, memory of my deep sleep seems to be there. So this particular aspect is called Avasthatraya Viveka. In our Shastras, these are called Avasthatraya Viveka. Means what? Avasthas. Every person goes through 3 states. Avastha is a state. So a waking state, a dream state, and a deep sleep state. Come back to dream state, come back to the waking state. All of us go through this. It appears to be enjoyed by 3 different persons, as though. However, memory seems to be a common aspect between all these 3. That is why once you have this particular analysis done, which is called Avasthatraya Viveka, that is when people will understand the concept of a Sakshi. Sakshi is witness. If suppose it appears to be 3 different people who is enjoying the waking state, dream state, and deep sleep state, but because intellectually I know, I have the memory of all the 3, it appears to be one and the same. However, there seems to be a separation between these 3 as the states are happening, as the experiences are happening, as if there is a wall constructed. So it's as if there are 3 different silos, and one observer goes to first hole, goes to the second hole, goes to the third hole, enjoys these 3 states, and have the common memory. But as it is happening, the other 2 states are going out of my experience, and that seems to be a kind of a confusion that a person is having once we start analyzing these 3 states. And this particular analysis is called Avasthatraya Viveka. very, very important concept which is there to say that me, that I am experiencing the waking state, me who is experiencing the dream state, me who is experiencing the deep sleep state, they are one and the same. And because these three states are happening and somebody is observing these three, me actually becomes a sakshi, a witness to these three states. So these three states, in again, from the Shastra perspective, waking person who is enjoying the waking state is called Vishwa. A consciousness entity enjoying the dream is called Taijasa. The person who is enjoying the deep sleep is called Prajna. In the Shastric terms, Vishwa, Taijasa and Prajna. This is at an individual level. The same at a totality level, Samashti level, they are called again Virat and Hiranyagarbha and Ishvara. We will not go into that. Right now, we will be only analyzing at individual level. So these three people, so-called people, seem to be having one common observer. Otherwise, I will not have a memory associated with all these three. So that is how the Avasthatraya Viveka is always done in our Shastras as the sadhaka. So it is very important to establish a fact that me I am feeling in my waking state is not real me, but that sakshi, that witness, who is witnessing all the three states or avasthas is the real me, and that particular aspect is called sakshi chaitanya. Very important in terms of separating out the me and associating it with the consciousness and not with the different states. Okay. So here we are looking at that particular aspect of Sakshi, who is witnessing the three states. And the last question is based on that. He says, on which do all these indeed depend? Kasmin sarve sampratishtita bhavanti. Sampratishtita bhavanti iti. Pratishtita is indeed dependent. So on which do all these indeed depend? So he is now looking at the Avasthatraya Viveka to be done. But one thing which is which you will see here is although it talks about Swapna, it talks about Sushupti, it doesn't directly talk about the waking state. The question starts with, which are the organs that sleep in a man, which again are awake in him, which is the Devata who sees the dream, whose is the happiness, and on which all these indeed depend. So in this particular thing, Shankaracharya says, even Mandukya Karika, when you talk about the waking and dream states are taken as one. They don't give importance or reality to the waking state at all, so to say. This is actually, I think we discussed this before, as Drishti Srishti Vada. Means a observer is very essential before the Srishti can happen. The idea is, you suppose you are in deep sleep, when your mind, intellect is not there, world is also not there for you to experience. There is nothing to experience in the deep sleep. So unless your mind is there, the waking state is as good as not there. So if I understand my mind correctly, the waking state, I will automatically get it. So I will not bother to even analyze the waking state or the world outside, because more I try to analyze the world, more I get confused because of the diversity I see outside. So that is how the Mandukya says that Mandukya doesn't even bother to analyze the waking state or the world outside. So here also you see that Prashnopanishad is now talking about only dream state, Swapna and Sushupti. Sushupti, where did it come? The fourth question. Whose is this happiness? The happiness they are talking about is the happiness of the deep sleep. Sushupti Avastha. So who is enjoying Sushupti Avastha? Who is enjoying the dream state? And which are the organs that are sleeping in a man, which are awake? So his definition of the sleep is also being sought by this one. And once we talk about this Avasthatraya Viveka, they are now talking, the question also comes as to, who is that Sakshi Atman? On which do all these indeed depend? Is the questions that the Sauryayani Gargya has put up to the Rishi Pippala. Okay. Did we read the question 2? Anyway, we'll read once again. Yeah. Tasmai sahovacha yatha gargya marichayo rakasya stam gacchata chatham gacchataha sarva etasmin tejo mandala eki bhavanti ta punah punaradayatah pracharatyevam havai.
Is it Punarudayata or Punaradayata? On my book, it is
Punarudayata. Punarudayata.
Punarudayata. Okay. Like it comes again. That's what it
Correct.
means, right?
Punarudayata.
Yeah. Okay.
So it rises again. So they're talking about in the sun, in the
sun
morning.
Going up again and again. Okay.
Tat sarvam pare deve
Tat sarvam pare devi
manasyeki bhavati
manasyeki bhavati
tena tarhi esha purusho na na shrunoti na pashyati na jighrati na rasayati na sparsyate nabhi vadate nadatte nanandayate na visarjate neyayate swapititya akshate. Okay. So basically here the Pippalada is answering the question that the Sishya has asked. The first one he has asked, he is answering there. He says, "O Gargya," but he gives a beautiful example here. He is telling, just like the rays of the setting sun becomes one with the disk of the light. So the orb of the sun is there. When the setting sun is there, it appears as if all the rays of the sun are being withdrawn into the sun's disk. So like that, in the morning, in the waking state, when a person is awake, it appears the light of the consciousness goes through the holes that are there. In fact, Shankaracharya talks about, a deepam in a pot with holes. How the light goes through all these holes, like that the consciousness that is sitting inside you actually goes through all the holes that are there, and it appears to give that type of a feeling of life to the body. The Pura that we talk about, the city that we with 9 gates, how the body is described, all the senses that are there. In fact, if you take the skin, so many pores are there through which the consciousness oozes out, so to say. Yeah. So like that, when it comes to the night time, a setting sun, how the millions of rays of sun appear to be withdrawn into the orb of the sun, he gives that example. They come forth again, and in the morning when they come, the sunrise, all these actually comes through back, all the sun rays actually comes back. Similarly, he says all the senses, in the senses what happens, the holes that are there, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, mouth, 2 ears, and so many pores of the skin, all of them appear to be, the light appear to come back again through the pores. So here the sun rays, this is talked about the consciousness element which is there inside. Yeah. And where does it come from? He says that like it is going into the sun rays, these senses appear to be being withdrawn into the mind. So mind is the devata that he talked about. So mind becomes the devata for the senses, and it appears as if it is being withdrawn into the mind. And thereafter, at that time, that this particular person, very detailed, this one is given. Na shrunoti. Na shrunoti, doesn't hear, he doesn't see, he doesn't smell, he doesn't taste, nor he feels. So here we are talking about Pancha Jnanendriya. Correct? Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha, all of them seems to be withdrawn into the mind. Nor does he speak, nor does he take, nor does he enjoy, nor does he evacuate, nor does he move. So Pancha Karmendriya. Yeah. So Pancha Jnanendriya, Pancha Karmendriya, all 10 of them appear to be withdrawn into the mind like the sun rays that withdraws into the sun or at the sunset, and again in the morning they come out again. Yeah. And when this happens, the people say he sleeps. So the very, very detailed definition is given here as to what is the sleep. Definition of the sleep is given here. Yep.
It could be definition of meditation too.
In fact,
withdrawing everything into mind.
All of them actually are is nothing but actually a meditation. We have already seen that all these 2 chapters, especially last 2 chapters or even before, first chapter also, is all related to upasana. The term that we used is upasana. Upasana is one of the important meditation techniques that is given. Giving a everyday example, one requires to move from vyashti to samashti. You require to move from individual to the totality. That is how the upasana is very important. If I see life in me, then I extend the same life all around me. So wherever I see the same life. I don't see different life in individuals or the animals or the trees around me. I see the same life everywhere. That type of, this one is called upasana. And you are absolutely right that this particular upasana is very important technique. Sorry. Okay. So this, after defining this particular aspect, as I mentioned, the waking state is not specifically mentioned here, but we must extend this to the waking state as well. Yeah, we have to extend it in the sense, once he says punarudayate, it is talking about the waking state when the same illumination is there through the senses. And because the question is about sleep, he is defining sleep in the kind of a negative way. What is there, what is not there, because my experience is in negative way. In the sense, in this, when I say what is the difference between my waking state and my sleep state, I say that my senses are not working during my sleep. That is how I define my own sleep, and that is what Rishi is telling, that the 5 Jnanendriyas and 5 Karmendriyas, once they are withdrawn, that is how the sleep is defined. That is how people see others being, others sleeping. That is how he has put that across. Yeah. And as I mentioned, there are 5 questions that are there. 2 or 3 of them are actually because regarding the sleep. Yeah. Okay. Third question again. No, third verse. Sorry, huh? Okay. Pranajnayah. Pranajnaya. Sorry, Pranajnaya.
Pranajnaya.
Evaitasmin.
Evaitasmin.
Pure Jagrati.
Pure Jagrati.
Garhapatyo hava.
Garyapatyo hava.
Yesho apano vyano.
Esho apano vyano.
Anvaharya pachano.
Anvaharya pachano.
Yad garhapatya
Yadgrahapatya.
praniyate.
Priyate.
Pranayana.
Pranaya.
Daha. Dahavaniya.
Davaniya.
Pranaha.
Pranaha.
So here, question was, who is awake? So who is sleeping? He already said that the 5 senses of knowledge and 5 senses of action, they are sleeping. And what happens during that time? Here he mentioned that one doesn't hear. So all the Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Sagandha, everything is withdrawn. So essentially what he said is the 5 bhutas or tanmatras that are there and the effect of them in terms of gunas, all of them are withdrawn. All of them are sleeping, and that is defined as the sleep. Second question is asked was, then which are the ones which are awake? So he could have specifically answered very clearly that the 5 pranas are awake. Because what is my experience? Even when I am sleeping, the inhalation, exhalation is going on, otherwise body would die. Apana doesn't happen normally, and samana, digestion happens, circulation, vyana happens, and udana sometimes can happen. Yeah, udana is a very specific, this one which I mentioned already. It's a upward moving prana and normally used for taking the soul from one life to the other life. Udana prana is the one which actually takes that. And I mentioned, as far as my interpretation is concerned, Vyana Udana from the perspective of sadhaka, person who is doing sadhana. Vyana is the expansive nature which allows you to move from individual to samashti, the vyashti to samashti. And Udana is the one which actually takes a sadhaka through the Sushumna Nadi. It's mentioned in the Prashnopanishad already, last section. So here, instead of directly telling, the Rishi is introducing a, instead of telling prana vayu, normally what we have seen is all these physiological functions of the prana in the body are called vayu. It is called prana vayu, apana vayu, vyana vayu, udana vayu, samana vayu. So in the vayu terms, it is normally used. Here Rishi is using the terms of apana, vyana, samana, etc. But you will find that he uses them in the terms of a fire, not in terms of a air. Yeah. So pranagni, it is called pranagni, it is called, and he is linking it with which we call as the yajna. Yajna that we do, yaga that we do, he is linking it to them. So he is using very specific terminology which used to be happening a few, maybe 1,000 years back in our Sanatan society. Yeah. So it used to happen that there are methods of kindling fire. When you do a yaga, for example, there are different ways of how a fire will be kindled in that homakunda. We call it homakunda, where the fire is normally ignited for doing yaga. That particular aspect, and you do mantra. Different mantras are there. A hotru will be there. Hotru is a person, a priest, who will come and do yajna on behalf of a Yajaman. Yajaman is the person who is actually organizing this yajna. A priest will come who is called Hotru. Hotru will prepare, that priest will prepare a yajna kunda and he will lit a fire inside, and then they will offer different oblations into the fire to a specific effect that the Yajaman wants. For example, if it is for a general good, the rains are not coming, I require more rains, there is a specific yaga that is given. A king or a administrator might organize for general good of the society, for example. So where exactly, what is the goal of this particular one also is defined as far as this is concerned. Now imagine this particular aspect. Now that kind of a activity is being linked to the individual prana in terms of an Agni insight as to who is awake. Yeah. Again, there are some specific terms are used here, so I will try to explain as far as I understand them. Difficult because we are not used to all these yagas and all that is happening. That lifestyle is no longer there. Even Gurudev says that lifestyle is no longer there. We will try and understand to best of our knowledge. Normally, there are supposed to be 5 different types of fires as far as Kathopanishad is concerned. But this particular Upanishad talks about only 3, so we will discuss only 3. Yeah. One is called Garhyapatyagni. Garhyapatyagni. Yeah, Garhyapatya. This Garhyapatyagni that we are talking about, in previous versions of our society, every person who gets married becomes a Gruhapati. A man gets a Gruhapati. Means he is the head of the house. Now he has to start his own life. Whenever a Gruhapati starts his life, a fire is lit in one portion of his house. Whenever a new house is there, kind of, and a Gruhapati will lit that and maintain that continuously. Day and night, that light is always there in the house. This particular fire is called Garhapatyag. Gruhapati's fire, in short. So what Gurudev, what Swami Dayananda Saraswati says is, that is the reason why when a person goes on, takes a sannyas, for example, then he is no longer bound to maintain a Garhyapatyagni anymore. So some of the sannyasis, one of the names of sannyasi is Niragni. He doesn't require, he is without any fire. So no need to maintain any fire anymore. A sannyasi becomes a Niragni. Yeah? This is how Garhyapatyagni. Now this Garhyapatyagni is being anyway, that is one of the this one that we have seen. Yeah. So Apana Prana is being linked to Garhyapatya fire. Here, if you see in this one, Apana is being mentioned here in the second line. Yeshe Apano Vyano Ahvaniya Pachano. So here we are talking about Apana Prana is linked to this Garhyapatyagni. There is one more term that is used, which is called Anvaharya Pachana. Anvaharya Pachana, there is in Shastras, there is another name called Dakshinagni or Anvaharya Pachana. So, and this particular Agni is taken out of Garhyapatyagni because that is the only Agni which is maintained continuously. Others actually are lit, and then once the Karyam is over, it is taken out. It is taken out. So here Anvaharya Pachana is special fire that is taken out of Garhyapatya, but only for Pitru related. Means if suppose a yearly this one father has died, or you require to put Shraddha Karma, or you require some of these Pitru related Karya, means your forefathers related aspects that are there linking fire, you call that particular fire which is taken out of this as Anvaharya Pachana or Dakshinagni. And that Dakshinagni or this one is being linked to Vyana. Vyana is like Anvaharya Pachana, it says. Yeah. And the third one mentioned here is called Ahavaniya fire. Ahavaniya fire is related to any Deva Karya. Suppose you are conducting a Samuhika, some puja, and you require fire for that to lit up so many lamps, for example. 1,000 lamps you require to lit up. You take the fire from Garhyapatya, but all for this Deva Karya, you use the fire, and that fire is called Ahavaniya fire. And that Ahvaniya fire is being told as linked to the prana. So these three are mentioned here in this particular discourse. So Anvaharya Pachana is for Pitrukarya, and Ahvaniya fire is for Devakarya, and Grihapati, Garhyapatyagni is for general living. So Garhyapatya, even for cooking, etc., you take from Garhyapatya, Grihapati. So related to the home, anything that you do is Garhyapatya. So this being now, instead of directly talking about prana, he could have easily said prana is the one which is awake, which makes sense because we all experience that very well, that my prana is, whether I sleep or not, that the prana is continuing to be awake in my body, and that is the reason why in the morning or during the sleep, my body is not disposed of. If prana is not there, body will be disposed of. Because prana is working, I am taken as alive, and I am defined as I am asleep. Yeah. So here, this question will automatically come as to why the Prashnopanishad, a Upanishad, instead of giving a direct answer, is actually linking a yajna or yaga to the aspect of things that are awake in you. As I mentioned, this particular aspect is definitely looking at the sadhana. He is looking at the discrimination that we are putting in terms of in terms of a sakshi, in terms of a witness, in terms of a witnessing consciousness that we are bringing in, means there is a discrimination that is actually going on here. And this Garhyapatyagni, Anvaharya Pachanagni, Ahavaniya fire, etc., these are all linking to certain aspects which are there in our sadhana, for example. Yeah. In general terms, for example, in Dayananda Saraswati, actually, Swami Dayananda Saraswati talks about this apana, when we talk about in terms of fire, is not really apana as a vayu. Apana vayu, what it does is, it is at the Mooladhara, it is at the Swadhisthana, and it helps in ejection, we said. And the Devata for apana is the Prithvi. This is how it is being described. But he says, this apana is not really that in terms of fire, it is actually the inhalation. It becomes an apana. So inhalation, when it comes through, how it comes? Because there is a vacuum that is created at the bottom of your stomach. You have a tendency to intake of the breath that happens. And that is the reason why the inhalation is linked to apana vayu, and exhalation that comes through, because once inhalation happens, you have to exhale it. And that exhalation is as if taken out of the apana vayu, and that means Garhyapatya, and you are taking something out of Garhyapatya. So the prana is the exhalation, and that is linked to Ahavaniya fire. Some sort of explanation is given here. If you read Gurudev's explanation here, he doesn't really give any of that. And Swami Dayananda Saraswati is part of our family before he split, so he learned from our Guru only. But Gurudev's explanation is much more simple in telling that it just comes out of the Garhyapatya, so it is like this. He really doesn't give any explanation in terms of inhalation and exhalation. But some of our Swamijis do give that explanation as well. So I'm giving you that as well. Yeah. But my take on why a yajna or a yaga is being brought in to explain by the Upanishad here. Because we are looking at a sadhana. When we talk about sadhana, Karhyapatya or Gruhapati is the one who operates at the bottom two layers or bottom two chakras. A Gruhapati who is there is very much involved with the society, with progeny, with child rearing, with how you bring up the children. So they're all operating at Mooladhara and Pranamaya Kosha at the max into Manomaya Kosha. A very much requirement, you have these relationships, you maintain relationships, and you support a sannyasis who have escaped this type of a living. Yeah, that is part of the requirement for any Gruhapati. So this Gruhapati or Garhyapatya linking to Apana Vayu is linked very much to the earth outside. So all the relations that we are talking about, and Apana Prana also links with the enjoyment one gets in the marriage life. So that's what this also talks about as an enjoyment. When we talk about enjoyment, we are talking about that particular enjoyment a Gruhapati gets. So Garhyapatya is linked to that particular aspect of our living. And when it comes to Dhyana being a Anvaharya Pachana or Dakshina fire, very interesting in our sadhana, each direction has got a specific nature of our working. Let me put it this way. North normally indicates Jnana. So our Uttarayana, for example, a northward movement of the sun is linked to Jnana, means knowledge-oriented lifestyle is linked to the north. South indicates karma. South always indicates karma. Karma means action. So when you are taking certain action in terms of either yoga or even general karma, the south is an indication. Dakshina is indicative of karma. So karma, when you are into karma, when you are trying to overcome the relations associated with the Gruhapati, that is where the Pitru Karya comes into picture, and that is why it is called Dakshinagni. One related to the Pitru, or trying to understand the cause and effect relationships that we have, it all related to the south. West normally indicates Kama. West indicates the desire. If you have a desire-oriented lifestyle, it is linked to the West. And the East is linked to the Dharma. So when we have Dharma linked to your general lifestyle, it is linked to the East. So whenever you do puja, people say that you face either the East or let the idol face East. So East becomes Dharma. That's why Northeast is a very, very auspicious then for us. Dharma is there, Jnana is there. So Northeast is a very pious direction. Whereas Southwest, where the desire is there, karma is there, and that rule your life, that is where it is supposed to be a nirutti, nairuttika direction. And that particular aspect, actually, they say most of the Rakshasas, etc., live there. So that's why it's called South, means your lifestyle is linked to only desire and action. That's why it's called Southwest is where all the Rakshasas are sitting. Just I'm giving you a general this one. So if you take from that perspective,
when we have these quadrants are different, we have northwest. Correct.
Yeah. If you take a house, for example, they say that northeast where your water body should be there, and southeast dharma should be there, karma should be there. That is where your kitchen should be there. Means what? You don't cook for yourself. You cook for others. When you cook for yourself, it becomes papam. But when you cook for the society, it becomes punyam. So if you place your kitchen in that particular direction, it encourages you to be more dharmic. Whereas if it is in the different direction, then you become Rakshasa, means you become very selfish in your lifestyle. So generally
in olden buildings, they used to be very considerate, thoughtful about these things.
Yeah.
But when they used to keep the latrines
Vastu.
outside the buildings at the time.
Correct. It's called Vastu. It's called Vastu. But generally, if you see, the lifestyle is like this.
And then
for
they
example,
will, yeah.
But in India, some people are very much following Vastu.
Let them be there. We don't go into that because
We won't
some
go
of
there.
them are, they are not really, many of the people don't even know how to read the correct science behind this. So now they do whatever they want for the sake of money. So, and it may not be the same in the northern hemisphere versus southern hemisphere. You can't approach the same. If you are in America, is different. India is different. The wind directions are different. So you require to understand too many things to really understand what is the true Vastu. So it's okay. Very a side note, actually, when I was constructing my house, one fellow came and he was the designer, and I said, no, I wanted the toilet to be in this particular way or direction. He said, no, it cannot be like that. I said, why? So he said, this is towards west, you cannot have that. I said, why? He is actually a Muslim, and in India, Kaaba is towards the west.
Oh,
I said, what kind of Vastu are you talking to me?
this is really mixed up now.
Yeah, so you can never be sure about what and how, with what intention people are telling.
Yeah.
Anyway, why I brought
That is
this up is
interesting.
Dakshinagni, when we talk about, you must have heard about Dakshinamurti Stotra.
Yes.
Dakshinamurti is a form of Shiva who is a guru. Yeah, and a guru actually normally in any place, the deity faces east or the west, one of them. Yeah, whereas Dakshinamurti faces south.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Because a student has to face north to gain knowledge. So a guru has to face south, so that the student will face north, which indicates jnana, to gain that knowledge out of it. So this Dakshinagni, when we talk about, and Pitru we are talking about, and that particular thing is Vyana. And I mentioned in the last class, my take on Vyana is that that particular Vyana allows you to expand during your sadhana. And once that expansion comes, Udana helps in terms of raising your level from Muladhara to Ajna. So this Dakshinagnya is linked to Pitru, because Pitru is always linked to, as I mentioned, cause-effect relations. Once you understand this Karya Karana Sambandha, your analysis is complete as far as Karma Kanda is concerned, Karma Yoga is concerned. So that particular thing is now linked to the Vyana. That's why. And the Prana is linked to Ahvaniya, and this Ahvaniya is always at the face level, at the level of your senses, at the level of your mind. And unless you gain the knowledge about this prana, etc., you cannot overcome the subtler aspects of your living. And that is the reason why prana is linked to Ahvaniya fire there. Ahvaniya fire, as I mentioned, is always linked to Deva Karya. Anything linked to certain pujas or any of the rituals that you are doing for Devas is what Ahvaniya fire is all about. So unless you overcome that particular aspect in terms of your understanding the true meaning of Jiva, you cannot overcome that. And that is the reason why this particular Ahvaniya fire is being linked to the Prana, Pranagni. There are two more, this one Samana and Udana, that are left behind, which we will see in the next class in the 4th verse. He talks about Samana. He will link it to Hotra. As I mentioned, a person, priest who is doing, is called Samana. And the Udana is being linked to what you gain out of a yajna is linked to Udana Prana. We will see the logic behind these two in the next class. Okay, 4th verse we will going to the next class onwards. This can be a bit technical. This particular thing can be a bit, I don't know whether you are finding it interesting, but really
Yes, it
speaking,
is very interesting.
okay,
It's,
then it's
it's
okay.
interesting and linked to our experience anyways.
Oh, is it?
Great, great. If you are enjoying this, then it's okay. Otherwise, this can become
Just one question. Is
Mhm.
this thing linked to Rashi? Because whenever they used to build the house, the kitchen in one building will be one side, whereas the kitchen in other building of somebody else's building will be other side. Was it in the same row? Was it connected, or is it connected to the Rashi or something?
No.
No, okay. Okay, so it is
Previously,
again
when we talk about these things, Mohaniji, if I go back to my grandfather's time, when we used to visit the villages, etc., nobody had apartments.
no.
Everything was in particular row. One individual houses were there. People were able to do all this in that house. Whereas if you are constructing 4 flats in the same floor and you raise it to 100 levels or 20 levels,
Yeah.
each kitchen will be different directions. You can no longer apply this type of a science behind to a
No,
apartment.
each kitchen will be different, sir, but on different directions and on different floors, it will be in same direction.
Correct.
Right? In other side will be other side. Okay. So that has enough light, enough water, this, that. Okay.
Yeah, but there is no choice for them. So in this case, what way they do, people who believe in that will go to a building and look for a direction of a north facing direction or east facing direction, something like that, and they purchase. People who don't believe like me will not bother at all to look at. So there are many aspects.
Okay. Thank you.
What is Rashi?
जैसे वो अपने नहीं बोलते हैं कि इंग्लिश में क्या बोलते हॉरोस्कोप जो आता है ना लिब्रा सेजिटेरियस हाँ जैसे न्यूज़पेपर में आता है हॉरोस्कोप अकॉर्डिंग टू द राशि
Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.